Hello, my learned friends, and welcome back to the Great Ace Attorney. We are in investigation part 2 of The Return of the Great Departed Soul. I kind of freaked out last time, and I don't apologize for it. This game deserves it. They are being very mean to me, and I have this bad feeling you're gonna see how this game is being very mean to me in this specific part. But we'll see. Maybe they'll, hold off on the mystery longer than I think they will. Because I certainly do hope that my dead best friend isn't responsible for certain recent events. Oh, I forgot she's back. Oh, this room, it's been too long. It hasn't changed in the slightest, though. And it's been some 6 months, hasn't it? That's a long time for things to say so familiar. I didn't know when you might return, and I wanted everything to be as you'd left it. But it has been some 6 months, it's true. So is your father alright, Susie? What happens? My father? Yes, Professor Mikitoba. I mean, it was half a year ago, but that's why you went back to Japan. Because of the telegram you received saying he'd fallen ill with a high fever for some unknown reason. That's right. So I was surprised to learn he'd be coming back so soon. Surprised but happy. I think I wrote about it in my letter to you. That it was all a trick. My father is in fine health, and I'm obviously very relieved about that. Well, we're all delighted to have you back. It was quite by accident that I've been able to return to Europe, actually. It's because of a very grand conference called the International Forensic Science Symposium. The International Forensic, that's the same symposium Lord Strongheart mentioned. Anyway, I've arrived safe and sound, and all that matters is that I'm here now. Oh, is she the great departed soul? Okay, maybe they aren't gonna bring my best friend in yet. Okay. See? Can't say I pre-played anything, or spoiled myself. After all, I haven't yet fulfilled my promise to you, Iris. Oh? You must tell us everything that happened while you were back in Japan. Yes, of course, I shall. And there's one other thing. Something you wrote in your letter that particularly grabbed my attention. About you-know-who. About Katsuma. You know that apprentice is him. I know. I'll tell you all that I can. Okay, then. As much as I want to skip to the end, we're going to go in order. I have self-control, guys. When I first arrived back in Japan, I really thought I'd never be allowed to return to Britain. But curiously, after that awful trial at the Supreme Court, Father's mood changed entirely. The awful trial? Oh yes, for the murder of Giselle Brett. Oh, you dressed as a man then, didn't you, Susie? Oh, well, yes. Since women are forbidden in the courtroom, I had no choice. Wow, amazing. I wish I'd seen it. Don't you, Runo? Yes, I suppose so. I want to play at being a lawyer now. I could wear a false mustache, maybe? I don't think any mustache could hide the fact that you're just 10 years old, Iris. There's something else I've been wanting to ask you, Miss Usato. It's about the real reason why Professor Mikitoba summoned you back to Japan. You said in your letter it was something to do with that convict's loot we found in Mr. Natsume's lodgings. That's right. The very large dog collar we found with the bee emblem on it. Bee. Oh, it's a bee? Who's bee? Who's bee? I don't know who bee is. Okay, anyway. It seems Mr. Natsume included a drawing of the collar on the report he submitted about his time in Britain. I understand that when Father saw the report, he turned as white as a sheet. Why would that be, then? Father came to Britain himself, of course, to study. It was some time ago now, but he stayed for 6 years. I can only imagine that something must have happened during that time. But if he refuses to tell me what it is, I intend to find out. And I've decided that I, for one, won't keep any more secrets. Oh, Susie! That's a very meaningful look Susato-san's giving Iris there. Oh! Are we gonna finally tell her that her dad is dead? I think it's time. Lord Strongheart mentioned something about that symposium too. I think he said that investigative authorities from 40 different countries would attend. Yes, and from Japan. My father and Judge Jikoku have been invited. It's something of an honor, I believe. Well, Professor Mikitoba is the leading expert in forensic medicine in our country, after all. But who's the other person you mentioned? A judge, did you say? Yes, His Excellency, Judge Shishiro, Jigoku. You've met him, Mr. Naruto. Last year, in the Supreme Court. You can't possibly have forgotten. You know, when I was being accused of murder. That terrible trial of yours, when you were accused of murder. Ah, yes, I try to think of that as a positive turning point in my life these days. Well, it was Judge Jikoku who presided over that trial. If I'm perfectly honest, I'd be happy to never see that man's face again in my life. That's so fair, though. Okay. Oh, well, anyway, as Father was invited to the symposium, he agreed to me returning to Britain, too. He won't actually arrive until next month, but, well, I couldn't wait. So I pleaded with him, and in the end he agreed to let me go on ahead. Yes, about the symposium. It seems as though Lord Strongheart has put an awful lot of work to make it happen. It's obviously very important. I believe it is, yes. As I understand it, Lord Strongheart organized the entire event himself. Strongheart is a suspicious individual, to say the least. I think he's hoping that by achieving exceptional results, he'll get the job of Attorney General. The most senior position in the British justice system. He's hoping to use his power to create the world's finest policing institution. That's what Father said anyway. Apparently it's Lord Strongheart's lifelong ambition. Does Professor Mikitoba know Lord Strongheart personally then, I wonder? Actually, Lord Strongheart gave me a long speech all about this very subject only yesterday. But I sort of lost the will to live early on and didn't really listen to much of it. How trying for you. Giselle Brett, the woman whose unforgivable actions ended in me being wrongfully accused of a crime I didn't commit. The murder of Dr. John H. Wilson. Yes, Giselle Brett. That's a name I won't forget for... Oh, that's a name I won't... I need to look at the names. That's a name I won't forget for as long as I live. The extraordinary thing is, though, it seems it's a name we should all forget. Sorry? Since the incident, our government's intelligence services has been investigating Miss Brett. But it turns out that an Englishwoman by the name of Giselle Brett didn't actually exist. An assassin! That's what I was saying! Definitely an assassin. Because, like, we didn't have any motivation for her. It makes sense. Didn't exist, but how can that be? It was a pseudonym. Her real name was Shin. And she wasn't a visiting student either. That was a front. A front? Who on earth was she then? Miss A. Shin. Her name is literally all our intelligence services have been able to ascertain about her. Nobody knows why, or even how, she came to be in Japan. It's a complete mystery. But that makes no sense. It's no easy task to be accepted as a foreign student anywhere. What could the woman have been up to? I'm afraid I really don't know. The only thing we can be sure of is that she had some business in our country that we don't yet understand. And now she's been killed, while all the questions surrounding her existence remain unanswered. I'm afraid so. Aishin. Who on earth was she? Oh, was that one of the names the government mentioned too? I think it was. And why do I feel so? Yeah, it was. Okay, that was one of the names the government was talking in Morse code about. And they also mentioned, she's linked to my best friend somehow. Like, they must have had him on like a similar mission. He's an assassin too. I have lots of questions and lots of answers. Why do I feel as though I've heard that name somewhere? I know where we've heard it. I paid attention. After my friend Ray's trial, the reporter who actually killed Miss Brett said something very strange. I know the truth. I know you had a hand in what went on. In that visiting student's face. Whoa, I did not read that right. Nobody here in Japan knows anything about it. They don't know that guy never made it to England, that he died on that steamship. And he'll never... I think, is Katsuba an assassin? Because it's like a very similar setup to this lady, who I believe is an assassin because just like she showed up, killed a dude, and had no motivation.
Obviously, I couldn't ask him to elaborate at the time. But later I visited the man in prison cell and asked him what he was going to say about Katsuma-sama.
And what did you learn? Come on.
After he died on the voyage to Great Britain, his body should have been unladen in the port of Hong Kong and passed into the care of the consultant staff there.
Should have been?
Well, it turns out that his body never arrived.
Oh gosh. I can't believe I was right.
It just disappeared.
What? Katsuma's body vanished?
Our government tried to cover the fact up, it seems. They erected a grave on the cliffs by our hometown. Except Katsuma-sama isn't there.
Did Professor Migatoba know about this?
Yes, it would seem that he did. But he didn't tell me. They're still investigating what happened to Katsuma-sama's body as we speak.
I just don't believe it. And what is this acute feeling of apprehension I have all of a sudden? He's the apprentice. Was he sent here to kill? I don't know. Was he sent here to kill the prosecutor maybe? I don't know. Oh, I didn't read it. Shoot, I clicked the wrong button. I mean, after he died, we never saw his body again, did we? That's what I'm saying. Could it be? Could it be that he's actually still alive?
Stop it, Mr. Naruhodo. It's too much to bear. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to. Just thinking about the possibility pains me so very much. Cast your mind back for a moment, Mr. Naruhodo. When Katsuma-sama was discovered, Mr. Sholmes was there, wasn't he? And he definitely examined the body. I remember it clearly.
Ah, you're right. So if Katsuma hasn't been dead at all, it would mean that Mr. Sholmes has lied to us? Yo! I bet Sholmes was in charge of making sure that he got off the ship.
But there's no reason why he'd possibly...
But then again, Sholmes also then accused me of the murder, which I don't think is very good.
Why he possibly could have done such a thing.
I suppose it's true, yes. We should ask him about it.
The idea that he still might be alive somewhere. It wants to fill me with hope, but I can't let it. Because if it turned out not to be true, I'd be back at the bottom of that awful pit of despair again. I'm terrified of what that might do to me.
Oh, Miss Susato. I know she's given the idea the thought it deserves. It's Susato-san we're talking about after all. So I probably shouldn't push it now. I do it! Yo! Okay, we need to go talk to Sholmes. About this paper, Miss Susato.
Yes, it's all about the great exhibition. I've been dreaming about it, you know.
I was sorry that you were going to miss it when you were called back to Japan.
So was I. I felt desperately unlucky. But here I am, back in London while it's underway. It's a dream come true.
Perhaps you're not as unlucky as you thought then.
Once we've helped Professor Harebrain out of this terrible situation, we should all explore it together. And of course we must invite Professor's good friend, Lord Van Zeeks, as well.
Your luck might not stretch that far. What am I supposed to...
This was used to shoot the balloon, wasn't it?
Yes, with a flaming arrow. It's quite a formidable weapon.
I'm quite accomplished with a longbow myself, you know.
No, really?
If you were to balance an apple on your head, Mr. Naruhodo, I'm quite confident I could hit it from a good 50 meters away.
Quite confident, you say? Does the apple necessarily have to be on my head? Okay, how do we... I want to leave. We went through all the topics, so, okay, there's something I must have to present to her. What haven't we talked about? Mr. Sato, do you see this? Okay. Okay. What am I... Maybe this thing? What am I supposed... Maybe I'm supposed to examine something? You see, I've been keeping my desk beautifully covered in papers as always.
You really must tidy it all up, Mr. Naruhodo. No more excuses.
But Mr. Sato, the way I see it, all these papers building up on my desk like this are a reminder of my wonderfully diverse daily life. I like to leave them as they are, so I never forget how lucky I am to have such varied experiences.
In that case, you should definitely have a thorough tidy. Then you'll be able to see your papers building up all over again and feel that joy renewed.
Still can't beat her in an argument, even though I'm the lawyer here. Can we leave? Your room through there should be exactly as you left it. I've still never been inside. I've never been invited.
Of course not. Only Iris is allowed in my room.
No doubt I'll be hearing you two giggling away in there again then. Oh! Hello.
It must be about a year ago now. I wrote a really long story based on some of my father's old notes. It's about one of Early's great exploits. I called it The Hound of the Baskervilles.
But then Mr. Sholmes forbade you from publishing it and put the manuscript somewhere nobody could get their hands on it.
So nobody knows anything about it apart from Hurley and I. And for some reason, you knew the title of it, didn't you, Susie?
Oh, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Oh, it sounds exciting. The Hound of the Baskervilles. I should love to read it. And you wouldn't tell me how you'd come to know it? Yes, but I made you a promise that I would explain one day, didn't I? I think it's time.
Yes! Oh! I love her accent that I gave her.
I'm only sorry that I had to keep it from you so long, Iris.
Let's go, please!
It was completely by accident that I came to know the title of your manuscript, Iris. It was a short while before we left Japan. I was cleaning Father's study and I saw something on his writing desk. A large box of papers. There was a label affixed to the box that was written in English. It read, The Hound of the Baskervilles.
What?
My Baskerville story! Of course, I had no idea what it was at the time. But Father came in and...
Susato, what are you doing? That's wild.
Oh, Father.
Did you look at those papers?
No, I simply read the label, that's all.
Well, put it out of your mind.
Sorry?
Forget that you saw it, and certainly don't tell anybody else about this. Do you understand? Yo. That's not good. But what was Iris's manuscript doing in Japan?
I have no idea. But when I heard Iris mention the word Baskerville that day, the title just slipped out. I would never have guessed that it was an unpublished account of one of Mr. Sholmes' exploits.
That didn't reveal Jack!
When I returned to Japan, I asked Father to explain, but he refused to answer any of my questions. And there was no sign of the big box in his office. That's really all I know about it. I've no doubt that Father has a very good reason for being so secretive about it, but still. I made up my mind to explain myself to both of you.
Well, thank you for being so honest, Susie. Now we can go.
So, Mr. Naruhodo, I'm ready to start investigating if you are. I've committed every detail about the case to memory. And Iris has told me about the disturbing happenings at the Waxwork Museum as well.
So you're fully abreast with the situation already, Miss Susato? I expected nothing less, to be honest.
I think our first port of call should be to investigate this Mr. Drebber. The engineer responsible for building the elaborate machine that was used to effect this extraordinary trick.
Whoa, I read that wrong too. Sorry, I just don't know how to read. Yes, a conjurer of sorts by the sound of it. Well known in the fields of science and magic.
Then we need to go and arrest him.
Well, yes. He must know the truth behind this case, so I agree we really do need to find the man.
It sounds like it's a case of tracking someone down, which is a job for the police, so a great detective.
Are we supposed to guess who she might be thinking of? We don't have much time, so we need to get started straight away, I think.
Good idea. Well, best of luck then.
Oh, you're not coming today?
I'm going to Brixton Road shortly for the herb market. But let me know later how you got on, won't you?
They really said we don't want to animate both of them. That was a little abrupt. The pull of the herb market must be strong. It's the pull of plot convenience, sir. Ah. Guys, I want to go to the prosecutor's office and talk to my BFF. I know that's him. Who's that? What's up with the scientists in the white hair? Oh, who's that standing beside Lord Strongheart?
I wonder. I've never seen her before.
Oh, is that the scientist? Ah, the young champion of the court. You had some success this morning, I understand. And you've thrown the entire government into disarray as a result. Oh, you mean because of Professor Harebrain's experiment? Sham science being demonstrated at London's Great Exhibition. The country's been made to look foolish, and now politicians are scrabbling to respond. Lord Van Zeeks is in the Whitehall as we speak, giving an emergency briefing. Oh dear, I didn't mean to cause any trouble. None of this is your responsibility. The government is entirely to blame for having been taken in. The special dispensation that prevents investigation of the scene will be annulled later today. Once that happens, my forensic investigation team will move in and deal with that scrap metal in no time. It's scrap metal now, is it? Until later then, Lord Strongheart. Yes, thank you. Is that the sham scientist? Who was that? That was Dr. Courtney Seath, Scotland Yard's esteemed chief coroner. Okay, never mind. She's leading the forensic investigation team's handling of this case. She was just delivering her report about the victim, in fact. Oh, I see. About Mr. Osmond. Following the outcome of the trial earlier, I asked the coroner's office to reevaluate its findings. I don't have time to tell you about what she concluded. If you want to know, you have to ask her directly. You can find her in the forensics laboratory. Ah, right. Now, what were you here to see me about? I can give you 7 minutes and 39 seconds of my time. So he's not running quite so spectacularly late anymore. Alright, let's talk. What exactly is the forensic investigation team that you mentioned before? The British Empire's police force must become the most exemplary in the world. For that to happen, it's imperative that we embrace forensic science and everything it has to offer. I first created the forensic investigation team a year ago now, unofficially of course, to pave the way.
Goodness, a year ago.
At next month's symposium, I intend to present the results of their work to the world. Once I do that, the House of Lords will be powerless to oppose the creation of a full-scale forensics division. And once that happens, the position of Attorney General will be mine, and criminals will suffer dearly. What do you mean? For too long, these scoundrels have made a mockery of our legal system with false evidence and bribes. But London's scum is about to be rounded up and burnt in the fires of hell. That's great. I tend to see it personally. That's fantastic. Great. By creating the finest police force the world's ever known to protect our honor and our future. Look at those eyes. He means every word. Dr. Seath is an extremely reliable coroner. When I officially establish the forensics division at Scotland Yard, she will run it as my right-hand woman. Now then, speaking of the symposium, Miss Mikitoba.
Oh, yes, my lord.
Your father should be on the high seas as we speak, making his way here to represent the Empire of Japan.
Yes, that's right. I understand he will arrive at the beginning of next month.
Are you acquainted, Lord Strongheart? With Professor Mikitoba, I mean. It was many years ago now, but yes, I remember Miss Dr. Mikitoba very well. If my memory serves, it was some 15 years ago now that your father came to Britain as a visiting student.
It was the year I was born, so yes, 16 years ago in fact.
Mikotoba was a young practitioner of forensic science, and Jikoku accompanied him as a young, promising judge. The punctiliousness and politeness of the Japanese at the time impressed us greatly. Not that I wish to imply impoliteness and carelessness on your part in any way. I didn't think that you were. Yeah, you're not. You're not racist, Edgeworth. Dr. Mikotoba studied forensics in one of London's large hospitals. St. Sinners, if I'm not mistaken. Dr. Scythe was also there then, as it happens.
Then, Dr. Scythe, I don't know, knows my father, does she?
She was a young medical assistant at the time, so I doubt their paths crossed regularly. But I've no doubt they knew each other superficially. After all, Dr. Mikotoba was here studying his subject for some 6 years in total. 6 years? That's a long time to be studying abroad, isn't it?
I lived with my grandmother in those years.
So he left his newly born daughter behind and went overseas for 6 whole years?
It was a rather turbulent time at home.
Oh?
Perhaps father wanted a reason to get away.
What do you mean? Why? Well, clearly something was going on. Divorce! Beheaded! Died! I wanted to ask you about Lord Van Zeeks, actually. I heard that his older brother was killed some years ago by a mass murderer known as the Professor, who targeted nobles and royalty. Is that right? You Japanese are a thorough lot. You've done your research well. Yes. And you could say it was the very incident that gave rise to the Reaper. What? Why? When his brother, Clint Van Zeeks, was murdered, it was just after young Burke had graduated from the University of London and became a prosecutor, when obvious criminals who managed to evade conviction in court started disappearing. Rumors quickly spread throughout the capital. Londoners started to say that wherever Burke Van Zeeks went, the ghost of his dead brother wasn't far behind.
Oh my.
So, Lord Van Zeeks isn't the Reaper? It's the ghost of his brother? Ever since that time, he became a very aloof figure in London's legal circles. Oh yes, Lord Strongheart. Go ahead. It's about Professor Harebrain's experimental machine. We'd like your permission to examine the remains if possible. Are you well versed in science, then? Not in the slightest. In fact, you could say I was barely aware of the subject at all until recently. Well, the special dispensation legally preventing an investigation of the machine is currently being annulled. Within a few hours, Dr. Scythe's team of forensic experts will begin their own investigation. But I suppose until then, there's no harm in you looking at the wreckage as long as you touch nothing. Thank you. Being able to look at it is better than nothing.
And I'll be able to see it too.
Your time is up. You'll have to excuse me now, I'm afraid. My next engagement calls.
We are extremely sorry to have troubled you when you were so busy, my lord.
I have important matters to attend to in preparation for the symposium, you understand. Okay then. Oh, and he's gone. New location. Yeah, I want to go here. I'm too curious. Interesting. I believe this is it, Dr. Scythe's laboratory. That chemical smell really assaults the nose, and there's plenty to assault the eyes in here, too.
It looks as though the doctor isn't here. But we're here now, so we may as well do some sightseeing, don't you think?
What a seasoned tourist you become, Miss Dusato. We could just have a little look around, being careful not to upset any restless souls. That looks of note to me. Blood. Oh, wait, hold on. Can I leave? Let's see. You can tell by the... Okay, so we are supposed to investigate. Okay. I wasn't sure, because I definitely went a little bit out of order.
I suppose this is Dr. Scythe's desk.
Ugh, I would not like to work in a place like this.
It's very tidy, though, isn't it, Mr. Naruhodo? Imagine how efficiently she must work.
The lighting is poor, which is bad for the eyes, and the chemical smell can't be good for you. Not to mention the skeleton watching over you as you work, which is definitely bad for the nerves.
Well, yes, those are valid concerns, I suppose.
I can just about cope with a one-eyed Durumidal watching over me, but that's all. A table and a set of sharp tools. When you consider each in isolation, it all looks quite innocent. So why is it that when you put them side by side, they seem so horribly disturbing?
It might be best not to ponder it too deeply. Seeing the large tome that's open on the desk does make me wonder, though. How can anyone concentrate on bookwork with this secreted order of chemicals in the air?
You either have to be a cast iron constitution or a really terrible sense of smell. Or have, not be. What am I not supposed to look at? What's that? Look at all the bottles on the shelves of these cabinets. What an assortment of chemicals.
These one here are labeled highly toxic.
Ugh, that's worrying. Because there are also things that look like salt and pepper shakers in there.
Oh yes, and they actually say salt and pepper on them. The doctor probably spends a lot of time in his room, I suppose. Perhaps she has meals here sometimes.
Life goes on, even when you're surrounded by death. Anything else? What's here? Those large jars seem to have pale things floating around inside them. I suppose they're fruit liquids or something. Or like pickled umeboshi plums we make back home. I can talk.
Father had jars like this in his laboratory as well. I expect they're human organs in a preserving solution. Probably as an example of some rare medical condition.
Miss Susato, there are some things in the world that it's perfectly fine never to know about. Ever.
Oh!
So as I said, I'm sure they're fruit liquors or umeboshi, aren't they?
Of course.
Well, look at this. What a magnificent display case. The cherry wood has been polished to high sheen, and the intricate carving is a joy to behold. Western cabinet makers really are skilled, aren't they?
Do you have nothing to say about the skeleton inside, Mr. Naruhodo?
Miss Susato, can't you tell I'm trying very hard to avoid talking about the terrifying contents of the case? He's such a mood. Oh, it's how I cope. He's such a mood.
I'll be sure to remember that from now on. That looks like an owl and a crow up there.
I know. They haven't even twitched since we came in here.
Well, no, they wouldn't have. They're taxidermy mounts, Mr. Naruhodo.
Ugh, I was afraid you were going to say that. I've been trying very hard to tell myself they're just sleeping with their eyes open.
Yes, I think perhaps you were wise to put something like your Durumidal on display in the office instead.
Is there anything I haven't looked at? La, 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 la. Would you fall in love with me again if you knew all I've done? Okay, maybe I am supposed to wait because, like, clearly she's not here right now, so. I don't know where we're supposed to go. Let's just work our way down the list, I guess. The prompts are telling me I have to go everywhere, so. Everywhere it is! Whoa. What's he doing?
Oh my! The whole wall's covered in equation.
He's still writing more now. Professor, sorry to interrupt.
Oh, Mr. Naruhodo! Huh, and who is this young lady? My name is Susato Mikitoba. I'm Mr. Naruhodo's judicial assistant. It's a pleasure to meet you, Professor.
Oh, if only I'd met a refined young woman like you sooner. None of this would have happened. No, that's not logical. That makes no sense at all.
Oh dear, I'm sorry if my presence here upsets you.
I owe you an apology too, Professor. I didn't manage to deliver what I promised you I would in court this morning. Oh no, 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 no. The whole thing, the whole miserable affair. It all happened because I've been such a complete and utter clot.
Professor Harebrain, what have you been working on in your cell?
Oh, you mean that? Oh dear, how embarrassing. I was suddenly struck by an idea, you see. I simply had to write it down. The law was all I had to hand. Oh, is it some new hypothesis? Something to surpass super high voltage instantaneous kinesis, maybe? Huh, no, actually. This is my autobiography.
Your autobiography?
How was I diddled and fiddled by Albert Harebrain? I found I can represent odd fortunes with only odd numbers and ambitions set by simultaneous equations.
Really?
I'm going to have to pay back all the loans I took for the kinesis machine, you see. So it's going to be a new serial publication for next month. Part 1, an odd birth, an odd upbringing. You can't beat the man's optimism, that's for sure. I see. Well, for now, would you mind if we talked a little more about the case?
Oh, yes, yes, of course. I've been working through the numbers. I was diddled, I was fiddled by the pair of them. By Osmond, and by that aloof engineer, Mr. Drebber.
We're not going to have to sit through an explanation of these equations, are we? I mean, if you choose to talk about it, Mr. Naruhodo. Everything I believed has been turned on its head. My research, Mr. Osmond, the kinesis machine, my hypothesis even. I'm sorry it's all come to this. There's really no other way.
No, it's not your fault. I wanted to protect my work, but in the end, there was nothing worth protecting.
It was never my intention to deceive anyone. I didn't want to trick the public.
No, of course you didn't.
But in court this morning, I realized something. Oh? If you've ever done something wrong without knowing it, you've still done something wrong. Logically, it makes no difference if you were aware of it or not. Ignorance is a poor excuse. The blame still lies with me.
Oh, Professor.
He believed in me this morning, you know. Barak did. He believed in my hypothesis. Well, I think that was just a necessary factor in the prosecution establishing its case. No, Barak wouldn't do something like that. I'm sure he genuinely believed it. Did he? I think I understand now why it was he decided to take on the prosecution of my trial, I mean. After the terrible incident happened, nobody would believe in my hypothesis anymore. Not the police, not the prosecution service, not any lawyers even. I feel like I dealt some kind of finishing blow there. So if any other prosecutor had taken the case, if it had been anyone other than Burke, I'm sure the prosecution could have declared my hypothesis a complete and utter nonsense.
And in that case, you would have been declared a fraud yourself, Professor.
Exactly, which would have been a fate worse than death for me. But Burke insisted that I was a proper man of science from start to finish. You think that's why he... I know him very well indeed. He's an extremely kind-hearted soul.
But that's extremely kind-hearted soul. Spent all morning trying to paint you as a murderer, didn't he?
Well, admittedly, that part of the analysis appears to have some flaws in it. And what about the whole Reaper side of things? How does that fit in with this kind-hearted soul idea? Anyway. Do you think he set out to trick me from the very start? I'm sorry to say, that does seem likely, yes. When I first met him, he introduced himself as a wealthy financier. He looked over the paper I'd written and said my work would benefit all humanity and must be pursued. He was so enthused. He was so emphatic. But in reality, he was the mastermind of some vast criminal network, it seems. I still can't believe it.
As the machine was essentially a set decoration for some stage magic. It probably didn't require a large amount of investment, actually.
But the scale of it, it wasn't just some small trick. It was a very elaborate feat of deception. All young scientists are full of hope about their burgeoning ideas, full of zeal. But none of us have any money. We want to do research, but we can't afford it. Many of us take on barely legal part-time work to try to earn just a few measly pennies to carry on. To go through all that, only to be taken for a complete fool, is too rotten to believe. It is, I agree. And that's why you have to find those responsible and bring them to justice. Mr. Osmond is no more, of course, which leaves only the engineer.
Mr. Enoch Drebber.
Is he an engineer or a magician or a swindler? It
was about a year ago when Mr. Osmond first brought Drebber to meet me at my laboratory. Since then, I've met him many times to discuss details about the kinesis machine. But at no point did you have any inkling that he was just an illusionist? Oh, he definitely wasn't just an illusionist.
What do you mean?
He was a wealth of deep scientific knowledge. There's no question that the man's a genuine scientist. It's instantly apparent in our conversation.
I see.
But the wretched man deceived you, Professor. It's unforgivable. We must do everything we can to find him and bring him to justice. Are there any more clues you can give us as to his whereabouts? I'm sorry. We've only ever discussed the kinesis machine. Nothing else.
What does he look like?
Although just once. I did visit his workshop.
What workshop?
Drebber's enormous fabrication laboratory, where he constructed my great machine.
Why didn't you mention this before? Enoch Drebber's workshop. There's every chance we might find the man there. So you've been to Drebber's place of work then?
Yes, just once, you understand. It was an enormous place. Plenty of room to construct the kinesis machine, you see?
Where can we find it? We must have to go there at once. There's a good chance we'll find Drebber there.
Well, yes, definitely. I'm sure you're not going to want to hear this. But I have absolutely no idea where the workshop is at all. I'm so sorry.
I was more than half expecting that.
You see, I was blindfolded in the carriage and the entire way there.
He blindfolded you? He wasn't taking any chances then.
The place was incredible. The pinnacle of modern engineering. Even the oil used was the very best. A special French machine oil that's impossible to obtain in Britain. Ah, the indescribable scent of that imported oil. Perfumers across the world should forget that secret formula and use that instead.
What do you think, Mr. Sato? Add a machine for your next birthday.
I've never used any kind of perfume, Mr. Naruhodo, and I'm not sure I'd like to start with that. I don't suppose you even part of the workshop's address, Professor? You don't have a business card for Mr. Drebber, for example?
The man was clearly very cautious.
Ah! Yes, I do. He gave me his business card once. It's right here. Look.
Are you kidding me? Let me see that. Throw etiquette to the wind, why don't you?
Enoch Drebber, engineer. I'm afraid that's all it says. There's no address.
No. Oh well. I can't say I'm surprised.
Still, this could be useful. Bye.
It's a puppy!
I had no idea there were so many people in the world.
I know what you mean. It's really packed here today.
I feel as though it's taken us 2 hours just to make our way through the crowds at this point.
Has it? I shut my brain down so I didn't really notice, to be honest.
Gosh, I do wish I had your absence of mind sometimes, Mr. Naruhodo.
There you are! I had a feeling you lot would show your mugs before long. Oh, I thought it was... Oh, Inspector Gregson! I see you're hard at work as usual.
Warm greetings to you. I do hope you've been keeping well since we last met.
What's with the ceremony? We just saw each other in court this morning. Not you, Sunshine, the gentlewoman so loyally at your side.
Oh! Why, thank you, Inspector. How good of you to notice.
He might be a bit rough around the edges, but he's still a proper Englishman at heart, I suppose. As you probably guessed, we were hoping to investigate the scene some more. Right, well, that's the young trainee's domain. Oi! Get over here, Gina! But the puppy! She seems to be busy playing with the puppy, probably giving the traditional East End training.
Gina? She's a police officer now.
Amazing, isn't it? She's a good kid, actually. Heart's in the right place, anyway. She's got the detection bug, if you ask me. Yep, I think she'll follow my footsteps nicely. What do you mean? I'm being transferred. It's time for me to say toodaloo to London.
Oh no, really? That's a bit sudden, isn't it? I had no idea. Where are you going to be posted then? We'll come to see how you're getting along. Not likely, but you're welcome to try. If you don't mind a trip to France, that is. To France? I'll be working in the Paris Police Prefecture. Should be right up my alley. But France, it's an entirely different country. I don't understand. Why would you be sent there? That's the way the adult world works, sunshine. Now don't go poking your nose in where it's not wanted. I'm intending to take the kid with me when I go. What? You're taking Gina to Paris? Well, I can't leave her in London. Who knows what'll become of her? I suppose he'd worried she'd slip back into slipping her hands into people's pockets and purses. I don't think he's worried about her pickpocketing, Mr. Naruhodo. I think he's worried about the Reaper. Oh, of course. So that's playing on Inspector Gregson's mind too, is it? Anyway, I haven't mentioned any of this to Gina, so don't go blabbing, you hear me? No, of course not. I've got to keep Dom and Diva safe and sound, until all this is over at least. Oi! Did you just call me Bloomin' Dive and Diva again? So you heard that, did you? Right, well. Any questions about the scene, you can put them to my capable Detective Diva here. They're cute. They're funny. I like it a lot. Anyway, get out of the bus. Inspector Lestrade's in charge here now. I suppose I better keep my word and not mention anything about Paris. So, Gina, you've got a new dog, have you? Oh, isn't he great? Toby's his name. Oh, how delightful. He's absolutely adorable. Yes, the dog does seem lovely. But it's the not-so-lovely Inspector Gregson that's playing on my mind, to be honest. Gina. We were actually hoping we could investigate the scene again. Yeah, alright. If it's around here, you can do what you like. Oh, that's alright, is it? I'm gonna be playing with my new friend here. Ah, yes, Toby. He's so cute. The machine that exploded must be at the top of those stairs, I presume. I haven't actually seen it yet, so if you don't mind. Sorry, you can't go up there, Sus. Oh. It's like I told Otto yesterday. Even I ain't allowed near that wreck. What's it called again? The reason we ain't supposed to touch the special dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act? Is that what you were thinking of? That's the one. That's why I only am allowed to investigate it. What are they called again? The forensic something. The forensic investigation team. Is that what you're thinking of? That's the one, yeah. But isn't it the case that the special dispensation has been lifted? I think so. I don't really get it, to be truthful with you. You're supposed to get permission from some bigwig or other, as far as I know. What was his name again? Lord Strange something. I'm not sure that's quite right, Gina. I think you mean Lord Strongheart, perhaps. That's the one, yeah. Apparently he's always watching the time or something. Actually, we've just recently been to see Lord Strongheart. Eh? You what? You've met him? Last time the boss is called to see him. He waited for 3 hours for the closed office and came back sniveling. Tragic. Well, Lord Strongheart has given us permission to examine the scene as long as we touch nothing. Oh yeah? Honestly. Alright then, go ahead. If it turns out that you're lying, it'll be the boss who gets it. He's never eaten another chip again in his life. So, you're still saying all this about Boyd, are you? I'm sure everything will be fine. That really would be tragic. Alright then. Them's the stairs. Off you go. Oh, thank you, Gina. It was great, wasn't it? I had a right laugh. It was a new one on me, that. You know, being in court and not spending the whole time worrying about about being found out. You did keep an awful lot of secrets in all your previous court appearances, didn't you? Yeah, and Otto's made things hard for me every single time Just doing my job, Gina. But watching someone else get it in the neck is a lot of fun, actually. It was amazing when you showed that dodgy professor's dodgy experiment was a total fix. The dodgy professor, as you put it, Gina, is Mr. Naruhodo's client. Yes, I'm starting to wish he wasn't, though. Me too. It's the boss I feel sorry for. Sent off to do the impossible. What do you mean? He's supposed to arrest that other cove, ain't he? And in time for tomorrow and all. You know, the dodgy engineer. What's his name again? Mr. Drebber, you mean? Enoch Drebber. That's the one, yeah. So the police are looking for this mysterious man with a black monocle. I guess they would be. It's putting too much on the boss, if you ask me. He says he's giving him a gut ache. Oh dear. But I do wonder if that isn't actually from all the fried food. What have we found out, miss? So Scotland Yard is trying to track down Mr. Enoch Drebber. I wonder if they've had any luck. He's really funny looking. Got 2 eyes, what don't match. Stole a glimpse of a picture of him earlier. I mean, I didn't actually pinch it or nothing. The old devil's got it. Sorry, who? You know, that Scotland Reaper what's always glugging down glasses on that blood-red punk. Ah, Lord Van Zeeks. Oh, we can go to the prosecutor's office. He's always added in for me, that cove. Don't know what he's always scowling about, mind. Probably would have been pretty good boss as it goes. She'd rather be the Reaper's apprentice than a detective's trainee. The way I see it, if the choice is between a chip-guzzling detective and a chalice-glugging demigod, you're equally badly off with both. I suppose you're right. I hadn't thought of it like that. Glad we put that one to bed. Anyway, the point is, everyone at Yard's dead set on finding the fishy engineer. But they don't seem to make no clues to go on, so they're stuck. There's nothing that can lead us to Drebber at all. Where do you find that little mutt then, Gina? Oi! Don't be so flaming rude, Otto. Slight overreaction, don't you think? He ain't no mutt, alright? Toby's, how do you put it? Oh yeah? A bona fide detective? Sorry? I've given him proper title and everything. It's Chief Inspector Toby to you. More senior than Inspector Gregson, is he? Ooh, so he's a police dog, is he? The police recruit dogs now? I've heard that they're already being used officially in Germany as part of their city policing. They're used for chasing criminals and such like. They have a wonderful sense of smell after all. I have a fairly good sense of smell myself as it happens. I can tell undergarments that have been freshly laundered from undergarments that haven't. Huh. That's nothing compared to this little fellow, Otto. Oh, really? According to what the boss said, once Toby has got a good whiff of your drawers, he could trace that scent to the other side of the world. What? To the other side of the world, you mean? He can swim? Mr. Naruhodo, I think you may have missed the point by a rather wide margin. I just can't believe this little dog had such an incredible skill. I'm telling you, Otto, there's gotta be more in dogs than doing their bit for the police in future. Yes, I agree. Right, one of these days they'll be barking orders at us all, not the other way around. Oh dear. Sorry, Gina. I don't think I agree with your vision quite that much. Well, anyway, whatever you do, you'll think about that. Toby is Britain's fast police dog. I found him down the East End the other day. Someone had just chucked him out in the street. There you go. I knew she'd lifted him from somewhere. Oh, Gina, you're such a kind-hearted soul, aren't you? To children and to animals. She's funny. These stairs lead up the experimentation stage. Let's go and see what we can find out. Was that more green stuff on the ground? Oh my, so this is the machine. That was used to deceive people into thinking instantaneous kinesis had taken place. Yes, that's right. Or rather, it was the machine. It's a little worse for wear at the moment. What extraordinary lengths Professor Hairbane went to in order to obtain the grant research. No. The professor was tricked as well. He didn't know anything about it. Yes, of course. It is amazing, though, isn't it? The scale of the whole affair is so very British.
You're right about that. You never see such a grand deception in Japan, that's for sure.
Oh, look, is that Lord Van Zieks?
So I think we're more or less done here, aren't we? Shall we, Miss Susato?
Already?
He is the Reaper, remember? We do well to keep our distance, I think.
But we have permission to be here, from the top. We're perfectly well allowed to investigate this machine, as long as we don't touch anything.
From the top? Do you mean Lord Strongheart?
Exactly. So we can stay here and stare at this wreckage for as long as we like.
She should have been at the center of the explosion here, and it wouldn't have been... What? I did that wrong. I know I should talk to him right away, but I'm low-key kind of scared. What can I look at? What's this?
What a terrible explosion it must have been. Even the steel girders are buckled and twisted in the blast.
And what they call the birdcage is right in the middle of it all, just here.
But look, Mr. Naruhodo, that metal grill on the floor. Looks as though it's designed to open.
It does, doesn't it? If the floor had been opened at the precise moment the explosion occurred, the birdcage could have dropped through and it disappeared from sight.
I don't think there's any doubt that was a very elaborate hoax, is there?
Alright, let's talk to him. Ugh. Least approachable man in the world winner, 10 years in a row.
Be strong, Mr. Naruhodo. Your country and your assistant stand firm behind you.
Lord Van Zieks? What? Beautiful weather we're having, isn't it? I thought I was making it quite clear that I didn't want to be disturbed. Apparently, you are unequipped to read the signs, you esteemed foreign visitor to my country. Oh, I read them. So, what are you doing here? Entry to this area is prohibited. Ah, well, the thing is,
Lord Chief Justice Strongheart granted us permission to investigate, on the condition that we didn't disturb anything.
And yet you've managed to disturb me. Ah! I need that picture. Never mind. State your business, then. Come to think of it, there are quite a few things I'd like to ask Lord Van Zieks about. Not the least of which is that awful case, even though it's nothing to do with this.
Ask away, Mr. Naruhodo. You won't know unless you try.
He's so scary. Are we really gonna start by bringing this up? Alright. Here we go. So, Clint. Are you kidding me? That is not how you bring this up, Mr. Naruhodo. What's the name of your old brother? Old brother. Your older brother, I understand, Lord Van Zieks. I always have to be on guard whenever you're around. So, you've been investigating me, have you? Oh, no, it's nothing like that. Well, alright, it is a bit like that. My older brother was also a prosecutor. He was the pride of the Van Zieks family. But tragically, a vicious killer took him from us. The dramatic... The professor, you mean? Is something funny? That's the extent of what you've discovered, is it? I shouldn't be surprised. The professor? As in... Susato-san's father? I don't know. It's just a guess. It's just a guess. Okay, no need to tease me, bro. Sorry, there's more to it then. Of course there is. He was killed by a Japanese man. Lackluster work is very much your trademark, isn't it? Ugh, you're too kind. Are you gonna tar all the... Yeah, So tell me, what's your interest in that historic incident?
As it happens, Lord Van Zieks, there's a rather curious case that's come to our attention. Are you aware of Madame Tussbell's Museum of Waxwork by any chance?
I am, naturally. I believe that since last month I feature in one of the displays there.
for public scorn. Of course, the infamous Reaper of the Bailey would have to be exhibited, wouldn't he? Well, a particular waxwork has been stolen from the place and held for ransom. A particular waxwork? Which... Wait, you mean... Yes, it's the professor. Mr. Sholmes is investigating the case as we speak. I was unaware of that. He turned as white as a sheet. That he actually did that time. Are the police trying to locate the engineer, Mr. Drebber, already? Surely that goes without saying. We're very keen to see him found as well. The trouble is, we don't have much to go on aside from the description of the man we heard in court earlier. Which, according to Professor Harebrain, was of a tall, thin gentleman who has straight white hair and wears a black monocle. So I was just wondering, I mean, I realize it's probably not possible, but we'd very much appreciate any more clues you can give us. Wow, Susato-san really knows how to take the bull by the horns. Fine. Why not? I have a photograph of the man here from an investigation 10 years ago. Interesting. That's definitely not my dead best friend. Though it appears he already had that black monocle at the time. What? Oh, no, nothing. I was just surprised that you shared that with us. We all need the man's testimony in court tomorrow, which means we have to do everything we possibly can to track him down in the short time available. So why wouldn't I show you the photograph? 'Cause you're a racist! What is it about Lord Van Zeeks? Sometimes I just can't work him out at all. Alright then. Hey, yo, he's back! I can't. Look at that chin. It's him. Also the top. Ah, the file I requested for the trial tomorrow. Thank you. You see it too, don't you? Are you alright? You see it! Who is this man, Mr. Naruhodo? Lord Van Zeek's apprentice, apparently. You see it, don't you? So I'm not the only one. Susato-san can see it too. Uh-huh. Lord Van Zeeks, may we speak with your apprentice for a moment? With him? Why? Hey! Katsuma-sama! Please! Please! I swear! Katsuma? I'm gonna start crying! I don't believe it! Your posture, your presence. I knew it! It can only be. I knew it! It's you, isn't it, Katsuma-sama? I felt something strange the very first time I encountered this cloaked figure, as if I knew him somehow. Can it really be you, Katsuma? Take that cloak off. Wait! Too late. No! I knew it! What's going on here? Oh my gosh! Whoa! I love Susato-san. She just knows where to push the buttons. What is your interest in my apprentice exactly? You act as if you know the man or something. Just tell him that he's Japanese. He'll unmask him real quick. Well, Since when has it been in your care? Or since when has he been in your care? I don't recall you having an apprentice before I left Britain 6 months ago. Lord Strongheart introduced him to me about 3 months ago now, with instructions to mentor him as a prosecutor. But he didn't tell you why, did he? The man appears to be suffering from amnesia. They're not doing the amnesia plotline, are they? I guess he got hit in the head. You're kidding me. Oh, now I'm upset. He's forgotten every last detail about himself. He has amnesia. Tomorrow he will appear in court at my side. What? Yo, they're doing the amnesia plotline? Are you kidding me? I'm actually so mad. He's to serve as my judicial assistant on Lord Strongheart's orders. He'll be in court with us? Now then, unless I'm much mistaken, I believe this conversation has run its course. Oh, yes, thank you. I definitely saw a reaction there. When Susato-san called out like that, it really seemed to hit a nerve. When she called out Katsuma-sama. Sorry, I had to recover there. There's no way they're doing the amnesia plot. I'm actually so mad. Oh my goodness. I swear if the... Oh, it does. Okay, fine. You know what? I think I'm supposed to investigate that rag that was on the ground. This wasn't here yesterday. Really? But if I'm not mistaken, it's the cage in which the victim was standing before he was apparently beamed through the air. That's right, the bird cage. According to what Professor Harebrain said in court, it's made of wood. Or more precisely, Japanese cypress, I think. And despite having been in an explosion and then falling from a great height, it's relatively unharmed. Well, wonderfully durable construction, would you say, Mr. Naruto? I'd understood that the forensic investigation team had taken it away yesterday to examine it. I suppose they must have brought it back here when they finished their work. But sadly, not with the body inside. No, that's right. I know we were given strict instructions not to touch anything, but still, this is too important a piece of evidence to overlook. We might need it for the trial. You'd already met that masked man, hadn't you, Mr. Naruto? Yes, yesterday, in fact, at Lord Van Zeek's office. I see. And if Katsuma-sama really is still alive, it means that Mr. Sholmes lied to us. I know. We're going to need to speak to him about that. You're going to have to leave now. The forensic investigation team are due to arrive shortly. If they find you here, it will cause problems. What sort of problems? For foreign affairs problems. Well, we could do without that. Alright, we'll be on our way. Peace out. Let's go, Miss Susato. Of course. Mr. Sholmes lied to us! He lied to us! It's not fair. Okay, I want to examine this down here. No, go back. Yeah, what were you playing with over here? Here's the scorching of the ground you mentioned. Yes, and there's what's left of the green balloon's envelope. All clear evidence of the balloon that exploded on the day of the incident. Poor Professor Harebrain. I do feel sorry for him that his dreams have been shattered like this. Someone's well and truly burst his bubble, as it were. Ouch, I'm a bad person. Is there anything else to investigate here? Like, actually? Okay, I think we can move. We need to go talk to Mr. Sholmes. I'm gonna wring this man's neck. Asked everything we need. Oh. Gina. We were actually hoping that we could investigate the scene again. Yeah, alright. If it's around here, you can do whatever you like. Oh, that's alright, is it? Okay, I'm just gonna skip. I think we've already read this. Okay. Okay. Ask everything. Should we present this? Okay. Let me just make sure we've investigated everything. I feel like we've already... What's this? Ah, the Crystal Tower. I can't believe I'm seeing it at such close proximity with my own eyes. You've really been looking forward to the great exhibition, haven't you, Mrs. Sato? Ah, yes. When I found out I had to return to Japan, I'm afraid I cursed my luck. But here you are, back in London, gazing up at the magnificent tower. I know. Perhaps I was wrong to curse my luck so harshly. What a shame that the symbolic landmark of the Great Exhibition has been damaged like that. Yes, unfortunately the birdcage crashed to the most prominent position possible. It's the gods giving us a warning, if you ask me. Man must travel under his own steam and not cut corners with instantaneous kinesis. But imagine what might have happened if the birdcage had landed on the slightly different location. The death toll could have been higher. So I think perhaps it was a blessing in disguise. Well, the gods are benevolent, obviously. I did say it was just a warning. Man must travel under his own steam, or next time bird cages will rain down on all of you. Your faith is much stronger than I realized. Well, how do you think I passed the entrance exam for you at university? It wasn't by studying alone. That's funny. Alright, I think we've investigated everything here. We better not try to go up the stairs now. If we were to bump into the forensic investigation team, it sounds like it could make trouble. Okay, maybe I'm supposed to present something to her. Oh, the photograph. No? What am I supposed to do? No? They're making it sound like I'm missing something, but I don't... No? Okay, maybe we're done. I don't know, because usually it'll just be like... Alright, I gotta go talk to Sholmes. If we have to go back, so be it. I need to go talk to Sholmes. I'm gonna wring this man's neck. 23rd. Okay, we're back to Madame Tuspells or whatever. Alright, Sholmes. I'm gonna kill you. Oh my! No wonder it's called the House of Horrors. I'd like to turn on my heels and go straight home, via the confectionery. Being scared makes you crave sweets? I can understand that. I was looking forward to a reunion after 6 months away, but... There's no sign of Mr. Sholmes anywhere. That's strange. He should be here investigating the abduction of the waxwork. Oh well, I suppose we'll just have to come back again later. So we do need to ask something else. I just don't know what. Okay. Present something. What are we presenting? This armband is proof, in Japan at least, that I'm a defense lawyer. And this badge is proof I'm a detective. So you're all gonna have to start calling me Inspector Lestrade. In that case, you'll have to start calling me, well, anything but Otto. I could call you Defense Nora Otto if you like. No, it doesn't have a great ring to it, does it? I forget to investigate something?
This dark smudge here.
I think perhaps it's machine oil.
Ah, yes, possibly. Professor Hairbrain mentioned something about the oil Mr. Drebber uses, didn't he? He said it was specially imported, very high-quality oil that's impossible to obtain in Britain.
Yes, that's right, but more importantly, that it's more fragrant than the finest perfume, so excuse me a moment. Oh, it doesn't appear to have any scent at all.
Don't worry. I expect that's just because there's such a tiny amount on here. Ah, look here, Mr. Sato.
Oh yes, the wood's cracked and broken a little. I suppose because it fell from such a height.
Yes, from the height in which the balloon was flying, down into the crystal tower below. A fall about 30 feet, or 9 meters.
Leaving the man inside tragically dead.
Okay. Now how do we present it? Nope. Okay. I got it. Okay. So we have to present the card now that we found the oil. About this, Gina.
Yeah, still learning me letters at the moment. I only knew R to E, so if it ain't not so much bleeding trouble. Oh, actually, Gina, it's the back of the card that's important.
Eh? How come?
There's just a dirty old smudge at the back, that's all. It turns out that this is a very high quality French machine oil. It has a very particular scent, apparently.
You don't say? Let's have a whiff then.
You sure? I don't smell nothing.
No, we didn't mean that you should smell it.
Oh, right. You mean Toby?
So cute. His scent of smell is so good, he can track people over the oceans, can't he?
Professor Hairbrain informs us that the oil is unique to Mr. Drebber's workshop.
I think he's picking up a scent.
So you mean if it follows the scent of this oil, Toby could lead us to Dodgy Cove's workshop? That's right. That's exactly what we were hoping.
Alright then, we'll give it a go. I'll just borrow that. What? Wait, when did you... Once a pickpocket. If I could leave that to Drebber's workshop, I'll be the boss's boss before next week.
Oh yes, Gina.
I'm sure you'll be promoted. Poor Gregson. Okay, now we're good. So let's go back to...
Right then, Otto, leave it to me.
Sorry?
We're gonna get going after that dodgy engineer cove right this minute.
Oh, but hang on. Someone's supposed to be on guard duty here all the time. I'm afraid we can't help. We need to get on with our investigation as well. Oh, right. Oh well, never mind. It ain't gonna be me what gets it in the neck. It'll be the boss. Poor Gregson. Again.
Ready, Toby? Got that oil scent, have you? Come on then, boy. See you later. I do hope the scent of that oil leads them to the swindler's workshop.
Yes, I hope so too. Ideally before the dog swims across the channel to France. I bet it's going to lead them to the experiment lab in the high office place. I low-key wanted Katsuma to be evil, not have it stupid amnesia. I'm actually so mad. That old policeman isn't here now, obviously. I still can't believe it just happened to be a jury, though.
I don't understand that London has a population of 6 million people, and yet you do seem to run into the same people disproportionately often, don't you?
Ah yes, the heavy curtains in the middle of the House of Horrors. Whatever's on the other side of them, you just know it's going to be terrifying, don't you?
The sign says it's Madame Tusbel's special exhibit. It seems you have to pay extra to go inside. I know. Can you believe that? Pay more money as if we haven't been scared enough already. It's not my doing, Mr. Norhodo. Okay, fine. I guess we do need to move. Okay, fine. I really just want to talk to Sholmes. Anything I've missed? It says I need to investigate more, but what is there to... More time investigating what? I hate how picky this game is sometimes. Look at this big, thick book here. Ah, it appears to be an accounting ledger. It's a record of the forensic investigation team's spending, I think. Oh? What is it? It's clear that the team purchases various equipment and supplies on a monthly basis, but... Well, on one entry seems rather strange. Really? In what way? They're buying 500 scalpels every month. 500? They must be working really hard on dissecting corpses. I don't know. Judicial autopsies are only carried out on certain special circumstances. And scalpel blades can be sharpened too. It does seem a bit strange, you're right. 500 scalpels a month? What could they possibly be doing all them for? What are you doing? Ah! Sorry, what are you doing? Sorry, we had something we wanted to ask you, but you weren't here, so I bet this is the sham scientist. So you thought you'd snoop around. That's acceptable to you people from the East, is it? Well, what do you want? Lord Strongheart told us, you see, that it was you who examined the victim's body. Or Mr. Osmond's body, I mean. So we came to ask you about your findings. On Lord Strongheart's advice. Very well. If the Lord Chief Justice has given his consent, I'll tell you what our investigation revealed. But when we're done, you must leave immediately. Finally. A little slow today, I see. So, you want to know what the forensic investigation team determined from its examination of the scene? Yeah? The victim, Mr. Audie Osmond, who disappeared from the experimentation stage amid an explosion, and Mr. Osmond, who appeared moments later partway up the Crystal Tower, were without question one and the same person. That is the team's conclusion. But that can't be right. If it was an elaborate trick, we can only speculate about how it was carried out. Let's see. If two people who look very similar to each other were involved, they could have made it appear as if one single person had switched places, couldn't they? Very true, but sadly in this instance, that was not the case. The man who was disappeared and the man who subsequently reappeared was the same person. The fingerprints of the scene make that quite evident. Ah, fingerprints. They're not yet officially recognized as forensic evidence in the British justice system, but one day they will be used as an investigative aid as a matter of course. Oh my, but that would mean that the instantaneous kinesis actually took place. So, where does that leave us? My team was tasked with investigating, not drawing conclusions. Instantaneous kinesis is impossible, yet the body did move from one place to the other. This hasn't cleared anything up at all. It's made the whole thing even more of a mystery. Mama, what is this? Ah, where did she spring from? And did she just call the doctor Mama? This is a lawyer, dear. Oh, hello. To meet you. Pleased to meet you. Yes, I'm a defense lawyer, Mr. Mama? Yes. Can I cut this one up? What? I've never seen inside an Eastern person before. I want to know what it looks like. Of course you can't. It's a live specimen, as you can very well see. Boring.
I think I just had a near-death experience.
Oh dear, Mr. Naruhodo, you're as pale as a corpse.
Then let's leave before I'm mistaken for one. Well, I think we've done all the investigating we can for now. If we could just determine the whereabouts of Mr. Drebber.
I'm sure Gina and little Toby won't let us down. Now then, do you think we ought to try to speak with Mr. Sholmes at this point? We have things to discuss, and I'm dying to meet him again after all these months.
Yes, it's quite possible he might know something useful, you're right. We ought to find him at Madame Tussbell's. Yep, okay.
Yes, Iris told me about his latest unusual adventure.
Bye! This is wild. The amnesia plot line, not the amnesia plot line. I should have seen it coming. He literally suffered head trauma.
Here we are again at the House of Horrors. I'm afraid I haven't got used to the place yet. I'd still like to turn on my heels and go straight home. Via the confectionery, of course.
Susato-san really is after something sweet today, isn't she? Me too.
Ah! What's the matter? Look, Mr. Naruto, look at all the waxwork. I'm quite sure that wasn't there before.
Wow, he's back.
It looks exactly like Mr. Sholmes down to the very last detail.
Haha, what is it? Oh, sorry, I think you'll find that's the temporary waxwork himself.
Ah, the friend of my dedicated employee.
Oh yes, hello again. It's Ryunosuke Naruhodo.
I must say I'm quite spellbound by the great detective. He is a marvel. My precious waxwork is already back where it belongs.
You don't mean...
But yes, the mystery is solved already.
Wow, Mr. Sholmes can really engage his brain when he's hungry enough.
So as you can see, he has returned to his habitual duties.
Yes.
His habitual duties? Allures. Do not disturb, huh?
I kind of need to disturb. Poor Susato-san. She looks very perplexed.
Understandably, this is weird. We really do need to speak to Mr. Sholmes, and I am longing to say hello again. But where is he?
Why is he dancing? I think you might find that he's quite nearby, actually.
Oh! What do you...
Indeed, my dear fellows, it is I, the world-famous great detective in waxwork, Sherlock Sholmes. Susato-san! Susato-san! I can't. My most humble apologies.
I thought I died and gone to eternal paradise for a moment via London.
My dear madame, allow me to make amends by offering you a taste of free deduction at some point. As long as it's not some questionable street food quality.
I don't understand. Why are you working as a waxwork here, Mr. Sholmes?
Merely a secret identity, you understand, though the case is largely solved now.
Largely solved?
We were talking about the waxwork abduction, I presume. Indeed we are, my good fellow. As I predicted, it was as easy as proverbial pie. Though I confess I'm yet to partake of a pie, proverbial or otherwise, or any food so far today for that matter. That stomach rumble echoed around the whole museum. So how do you manage to solve it so quickly? Ah, well, do remember, as I said, it was largely solved. Anyway, I simply negotiated with the culprit. Are you familiar with the so-called telephone?
Oh yes! It's the most modern invention, allowing you to hold a conversation with people far away. In Japan, only the imperial capital and a handful of other cities are connected as yet.
This morning, a telephone call was received here from the perpetrator of the abduction.
As such, I was able to negotiate terms, and in the end, the waxwork was returned. That's amazing. Just between you and I. It would appear the culprit had always intended to return the stolen waxwork at any event. Oh? But I thought whoever was responsible had demanded a ransom, no? Yes, I think perhaps. The ransom demand was necessary to avoid unwanted suspicion regarding the true motive. But does that not mean your negotiating was entirely unnecessary? A fact that I must ask you to keep from Madame Tussbells at all costs. A hungry young Iris awaits my return to Baker Street, after all. Poor Iris. Now then, do I sense that you have some business with this great waxwork? I'd like to see it. Okay, we'll do the first one first. And then we are going to talk about this, sir. We're in the process of trying to track somebody down. Oh? Yes, a man by the name of Enoch Drebber. He's the swindler who duped Professor Harebrain and the engineer who built the kinesis machine. A swindler and an engineer! Quite the modern man. He also seems to be a conjurer of sorts, too, with considerable knowledge of stage magic. We really do need to locate him before the trial resumes tomorrow morning. But we have so few clues to go on, that's the trouble. Do you have any good ideas? I have no data yet. It is a capital mistake to have good ideas before one has data. If I knew something of the man's appearance, at least, I may be in a better position to help. Yes, Drebber's appearance. Fortunately for you, however, presently I have little to occupy myself and little to fill my stomach. As soon as you find any clue, no matter how small, I should gladly give you my thoughts on it. Is it bad that I'm avoiding asking him about this right now? Hold on. I'm going to present the one piece of evidence first, and then we're going to talk about Katsuma. Okay. Mr. Sholmes, would you cast your eyes over this photographic print? Now we're speaking his language. It's of Mr. Enoch Drebber. The face of the engineer we seek. Well, all Englishmen look broadly the same, of course. So looking at the photograph won't be particularly instructive. Are you alright, Mr. Sholmes? Ah, yes, forgive me. Uh-huh. Very interesting, this. Very interesting indeed. What's wrong, Mr. Sholmes? Uh-huh. Uh-huh. Wait. Okay, alright. Guys, I'm scared. Mr. Sholmes, did you lie to us? My dear Mr. Naruto, stay that piercing stare. What is this about? Last winter, when we were first on our way to Britain aboard the steamship. Your words were very clear. So then, let us unravel this mystery and discover what events led to this curious murder. You told us that it was murder, and you examined Katsuma-sama's body. Indeed, and wherein lies the problem? We met him earlier today, the victim, Katsuma Asugi. You're quite sure? He was wearing some sort of mask, and was apparently suffering from amnesia. But yes, I'm quite sure it was Katsuma-sama. You must have known at the time, Mr. Sholmes, that he wasn't actually dead. Well, I can only assume I was swept up in the murderous atmosphere of the moment. I actually wouldn't put that past him. But the fellow wasn't dead at all! Priceless! I don't suppose that performance would pass muster, would it, Mr. Naruto? I could believe that the crewmen present at the time made a mistake. But not you, Mr. Sholmes. I will now tell you something of the first importance, my dear fellow. Great detectives are wont to lie. It will serve you well to remember that. Please, Mr. Sholmes. Tomorrow in court, you will find yourself on the threshold of a very great mystery. For now, I'm afraid that is all I can say. You suck.
I have a suggestion, Mr. Naruto. Will you indulge me? What is it? As I explained to you when you arrived, the missing waxwork has been returned. And I personally reinstalled it in the exhibit from which it was taken behind those thick curtains. Oh yes, the professor exhibit, isn't it? Would you like to see it? For a mere 5 shillings. That's a special one-time only price, you understand. What? The opportunity won't come again, I might add. Would you like to see the fruits of my labor?
Oh, well, we do have a rather pressing investigation to carry out. Perhaps we could postpone?
The price is a very reasonable 5 shillings. I think you'll find it's well worth it. Are you being quite serious, Mr. Sholmes? Surely you need only look at my expression to ascertain if this seriousness or silliness. I can never tell with you, that's the point.
Very well, it couldn't hurt. Here's your 5 shillings.
Gratefully received. So, the special exhibit awaits behind the curtain. I invite you to peruse at your own leisure.
Well, the money's been spent, so let's go and see the special exhibit.
We're just moving on from the fact that our dead friend was just discovered. Through the heavy curtains at last. $5 we've had to pay. It doesn't seem right somehow that Mr. Sholmes slipped the money into his own pocket, does it?
No. Ah! We could ask Gina to retrieve it for us, using her special skills.
Pickpocketing police officers and diddling detectives. Is this what makes Britain great? Not to mention demigod prosecutors taking the law into their own hands or chip-loving inspectors.
Inspector Gregson comes off rather well in the list, I think.
Where's the head?
Oh dear, I felt a shiver run down my spine as soon as we walked in here.
Miss Susato, I say we turn our heads and go straight home via really big confectionery.
We certainly can't do that. We've paid 5 shillings already.
True. Actually, now that I'm looking a little more closely, we've paid good money to see an exhibit that's clearly incomplete. The nerve of the great diddling detective is far more terrifying than anything else in this place.
This must be what Mr. Sholmes meant when he said the case was largely solved.
It doesn't have a head? Be that as it may, Mr. Sholmes heavily implied there'd be a clue about the engineer here, didn't he? But where? We paid 5 shillings. Let's do 5 shillings worth of investigating.
Yes, we will get what we paid for.
Is that fear or frustration that's making Susato-san's voice tremble?
This part of the exhibit is just as disturbing as the rest. It looks so real.
It seems to be a young man in a white overcoat.
And he has a large shovel in his hand, too. Look.
Perhaps we should investigate a little more detail. What's this here?
Well, this would appear to be a lens in the middle, so I believe it's probably a camera.
A camera? But it's so small. British technology is incredible, isn't it? I mean, what about Mr. Sholmes' skin prints?
I think perhaps you should treat Mr. Sholmes' inventions as exceptions to the rule. But anyway, why would the man be in a graveyard at night with a camera?
I wonder. Perhaps he was trying to capture the moment a dead body came back as a ghost on film.
We'll just borrow this for a little while, I think. By looking at the photographic plate in the inside of the camera, we can see what picture was taken.
What photograph? What's a photographic plate?
It's a piece of glass coated in a special emulsion that reacts to light coming through the lens. I already know this. La 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 la.
You should see yourself. Your eyes are shining. You really do like machinery, don't you? Okay, let's see if we missed anything important.
What a large shovel. He's holding it rather ominously, isn't he? What on earth was the man doing with a shovel in a graveyard in the middle of the night?
Miss Susato?
Yes?
That's a spade, isn't it?
No, it's a shovel.
No, shovels are for digging. That's for scooping up loose material. It's a spade.
We've been through this, Mr. Naruhodo. It's a shovel. No, no, no. Although, we haven't considered... We've allowed ourselves to be distracted, I feel. Perhaps we should concentrate on what the man was doing with the implement.
So we're gonna bury the hatchet? You're right, though. What was the man doing in the river in the first place? That's the real question. Can we look at his face? I can't see his face very well, can you? Perhaps if I just... Oh, do you think you should be manhandling the exhibits, Mr. Naruhodo? I'll put it back where it was, don't worry. Ah! What on earth? How can... I don't believe it. Mr. Naruhodo, is it possible this man is... Yes. It's Enoch Drebber. The color of his hair is different, but... It's unmistakably him. Interesting. Indeed it is. Mr. Sholmes. This man is the subject of your present hunt, I believe. Yes, that's right. Just who is this man? And why does the convict behind him have no head? The head was missing when the model was returned by the thief who stole it. What a surprise. So then the case isn't solved yet, is it? Did I not say so myself? Largely solved with my words, I believe. But I must locate the missing head, tout de suite, as Madame would say, or I'll be in grave trouble. Oh, that's right, she was French. A very hungry iris still awaits my return to Baker Street, preferably with rations. Ugh. Do you know, though? Something about this room is strange. Strange? What do you mean?
Well, the displays in the House of Horrors are supposed to depict real events, are they not?
Indeed they are, Miss Susato. Do go on.
And as terrifying as they are, the scenes in the other exhibits are believable. But this one... This surely couldn't have ever happened, could it?
I think it's time I educated you a little. About the nature of the incidents involving the professor 10 years ago. I believe I told you a little about the professor yesterday, did I not? He took the lives of 5 victims, every one being either a member of aristocracy or royalty. All were attacked by an enormous hunting hound and had their throats ripped from their bodies. Ew.
Oh gosh, an enormous hound? How awful.
After taking the life of his 5th victim, the killer was apprehended. It was a case of unprecedented magnitude in Britain, you understand, accordingly. The professor was tried in a closed court. No members of the public were permitted. A closed court? So you mean that the professor's identity... As you surmised, my dear fellow, his identity was never made public. Naturally, he was found guilty and was summarily sentenced to death by hanging. He was buried in a grave at a low-gate cemetery, which adjoins to the rear of the prison where he had been held. However, that was not the end of the affair.
Oh!
The very night that he was buried, the convicted man came back to life. Came back to life? He clawed his way out of the ground and emerged into the moonlit graveyard. The exhibit here depicts that very scene as described by the sole witness to those chilling events. There was a witness. But of course, my dear fellow, it was none other than the young man in the white overcoat. Enoch Drebber. He saw it happen. So this is the waxwork model of Enoch Drebber. 10 years ago, the convicted professor, having been gibbeted and buried, emerged from his grave in the dead of night. The sole witness to that unimaginable scene was this young man. From appearances, I would say he was about 20 years old.
It's so horrifying.
Scared out of his wits, the young Drebber ran to a nearby police station to report the incident. And the sheer terror of what he'd seen is said to have turned his hair white overnight. Yes, as shown in the photograph we have of him. His hair is completely white. For the following few days, the story of what he'd seen was on front of every page in the capital.
The public was frantic for every last detail about the killer who'd come back to life. As you've seen, an exhibit was even created here at Madame Tospel's. I can quite understand why the man's hair turned white, certainly. But what I don't understand is what Mr. Drebber was doing in the first place, in a lonely graveyard in the middle of the night. Yes, what was he up to? The professor's acts of terror threw London's upper classes in complete panic 10 years ago. It was a great scandal, one might say, at the very highest level of society. And since the killer's identity was never made public, rumors abounded. After all, no killer had ever been systematically employed a dog as a weapon of murder. Yes, I can imagine the impact the case must have had. But in time, of course, the rumors abated. So, too, to talk of the shocking witness account of the convict who came back to life. It was forgotten, dismissed as a dubious ghost story, as a preposterous parlor tale. But why did people stop believing it? Why, simply because there was no resurrection to speak of, as we established in fact. What? What do you mean by no resurrection? The police investigated the grave in Lowgate Cemetery and published their findings. The convict's body was found to be buried exactly where it had been following the execution. No, but that would mean Mr. Drebber must have lied to the police in the newspapers. That would appear to be the only logical explanation, yes. The young man subsequently vanished from society and nothing has been heard of him since. It's rather striking, then, that he should resurface now, don't you think? Of course, the convicted murderer couldn't have come back to life. That's not possible. But Drebber's hair is unusually white, and if that really did happen overnight as a result of shock, it's hard to believe the incident was an out-and-out lie. This is crazy. What a wonderful machine! You really love contraptions like this, don't you? Oh yes, anything mechanical I find absolutely irresistible. Almost irresistible, surely. Well, whenever I see a pocket watch, for example, I can't help myself. I simply have to take it apart. That's worrying. Yes, Father tells the time by rumblings of his stomach now. He's given up having a watch. Poor Professor Mikitoba. Is that blood? Look, Mr. Naruto. What is it? On the bellows just here. There seems to be very red dark stains. Yes, you're right. Looks like blood, actually. Oh my. I'm sure it's not what you're thinking. Oh look, the cover came open. Yes, now, there should be a glass plate inside. You have to change the plate with each new photograph you want to take, you see. Is something wrong? There is no plate. It's been removed. Huh, what a pity. This wouldn't be the actual camera that was used at the time, just like the waxwork isn't the actual person. So we'd never found a photographic print of the executed convict coming back to life anyway. Oh yes, you're quite right, of course. Poor Susato-san, she looks devastated. I think we've looked at everything. Okay. I'm mad at you. We're not talking right now. Oh, never mind. We are talking because I need to investigate more. I should probably talk about the headless man. This must be the killer, the fiend known as the Professor. Yes, I think so. He killed 5 victims, all of noble or royal blood. The waxwork is so lifelike, isn't it? Like all the models in this place. I know. It looks like it could start moving at any moment, doesn't it? If only it had a head, that is. Perhaps we should examine it in a little more detail. Is this the condemned man? Yes, the so-called professor. Then perhaps his head was chopped off by a guillotine, but unable to find peace, he emerged from his grave as a headless ghost. Do we have to entertain such terrifying ideas, Mr. Sato? Anyway, I'm sure the model had a head once. There's a metal fitting for it, see? Then perhaps Mr. Sholmes absentmindedly forgot to reattach it. That's an extremely absent-minded detective you're describing, isn't it? Or perhaps the thief absentmindedly forgot to include the head when he or she returned it to the museum. And that would be an extremely absent-minded thief. Could there have been some reason why only the head wasn't returned? Whatever the reason, it means we don't know what the face of the infamous professor looked like, do we? Oh. There's something caught just inside the convict's jacket here. It looks like a piece of broken glass, and quite a big piece, too. It's very thick, isn't it? About 5 times thicker than normal glass window glazing, I'd say. Where would such a thick piece of glass have come from, I wonder? Suppose it must have been made thick to increase its strength? But why? Well, perhaps because the glass had a span to a particularly wide area, such as a big building, for example. Well, we couldn't see a large glass building. We've seen a large glass building recently, haven't we? And some glass of the glass was broken, too. Oh, guys! Guys, they used this body to do the trick. Oh my goodness, that's so obvious. Ah, that's so obvious. Okay, I feel so stupid. You don't mean... Exactly, the Crystal Tower at the Great Exhibition. But why would a glass from the Crystal Tower be lodged inside the waxwork's jacket? It makes you think, doesn't it? Is it just a coincidence? Okay. Are we examined? Ah! What the bleed Nora? What have you gone and done? Gina, what are you doing here? I asked Iris and she said that this is where you be, so, Gina, not so loud in the museum. Madame Tospels will have you taken a position as a waxwork if you're not careful. I think there might be a more pressing concern. I still had some flash powder left from 6 months ago, so, all right, Gina, we understand, but please put down the gun. Sorry, I got scared. You should try being the one on the other end of the barrel. So what brings you here, Gina? What brings me here? What do you think? We found it. We found that dodgy Cole's workshop. What? You found Drebber's workshop? Yep. Toby's nose took me straight there. The boss and the others are heading over there now in the drag, so come on. Here's the address. I got the boss to write out. Oh, thank you, Gina. We'll make our way there at once. All right then, see you there. You go. Don't mind me. I'll just stay here, being still. What? I know my place in the exhibit over there. Oh dear, someone is feeling sorry for himself. Let's go, Mr. Sholmes. You're coming. Your words hearten me, I must say, but if I were to shirk my duties here, Madam would have me pay monetary Forget that, I'll pay for everything. Then there's not a moment to lose, my dear fellow. I shall hail a carriage at once. No offer to share the cost for Mr. Sholmes, then. I shall gladly pay half, Mr. Naruto. Thank you, Mr. Sato. Right, let's go. That looks like... Oh! It's another super high voltage instantaneous kinesis machine. Indeed it would appear so, though only a prototype, naturally. Ah, so you got it here then! Gina, well done for finding this place. And in such little time. You've really worked miracles. It's Toby here who's a miracle worker. Ah, I thought you lot would show up before long. Hello, Inspector. That's one knitted brow. He looks like he's eating a lemon, not a bag of fish and chips. So, Inspector, is there any sign of the engineer?
Sadly not. We didn't find a soul in here.
Oh, what a shame.
Well, thank you for letting us know about this place and giving us a chance to investigate. According to what Gina tells me, we only found it thanks to a clue that you lot turned up. I wouldn't want to say go to Paris with the debt of gratitude unpaid now, would I? Thank you. Anyway, if you're open to snoop around in here, I'd get cracking. Lord Van Zeek's and the forensics team are on their way out here as we speak. Them again. I imagine you got the picture by now. They don't take too kindly to the lawyer types. Right. So then, my dear fellow, let's turn this place upside down whilst we have the chance. And you, Sholmes. Pardon? They take even less kindly to great detectives than they do lawyers. Very droll, Gregson, very droll. I'm still mad at you. But if you may consider me nothing more than an inconspicuous waxwork model. Right then, let's see what we can find in here. This is... It's a European-style quiver of arrows with steel bolts inside.
Oh, do you suppose...
Crossbow bolts, these. And just the right size for the bow you lot turned up at the exhibition grounds. In other words. Yep, that's more evidence to support your theory. It all goes to show that Drebber was the one pulling the strings behind the scenes of the whole scam. Mm-hmm.
I'm sorry, Mr. Naruto. That machine is covered by the Special Dispensation for Scientific Equipment Act. There would be serious repercussions if you were to examine it from the Crown and the government.
Well, those two don't seem to be holding back. It's quite hollow inside. No working parts or devices of deception to be seen, my dear fellow. No loose chains dropped on the floor, nothing. Not even a bone for Toby here, my dear fellow.
British people are very much ruled by their own ideas, aren't they?
I think that's just these two, Miss Susato. Ha! This appears to be most interesting. Yes, most interesting indeed, wouldn't you say? It's an impressive looking back massager, that's for sure. I have no idea what, that if you... It's a Royal Society trophy for excellence in science. A young scientist could wish for no higher honor. Ah. Would you like a massage? No, I'm fine, thank you. I had no idea it was such a grand thing.
I think it's becoming increasingly clear that there's much more to this Enoch Drebber than conjuring tricks.
I couldn't agree more, my dear madame. And how about you, Mr. Naruto? Wouldn't you like to take it with you? For your tired shoulders, of course. He's not going to let that go, is he?
It's curious, though, isn't it? You would expect such an important trophy to be proudly on display somewhere, not haphazardly cast aside. English gentlemen can be quite a mystery at times.
This door doesn't want to open. Yeah, looks like it's got a pretty hefty lock on it. There's a specialist locksmith on his way over from the yard, so hands off till he gets here. With permission, Inspector, I could have that lock open in less than a minute. Well, you don't have permission and no one's giving it to you. Gregson looks as though he's really enjoying that.
Well, there's no sound of anybody on the other side.
No, Drebber must have fled at the first sign of danger.
Oh,
is something wrong, Mr. Sato?
Well, I thought I heard a noise from the far side of that door. Well, Gina? Did you hear it too?
Yeah, I heard it and all. What do you reckon, Toby?
Right, mind the grace. Whoever's in there, open up. This is Scotland Yard.
Oh my, someone is in there. Ah, this rotten bleeding luck. My dear Gregson, as I said only minutes ago. If only it were countenanced, I could unlock that door in less than a minute.
Fine, I'll take the rap for it.
Just get us through that blasted door. There, you may enter at will. You confuse minutes with seconds, I think. Time is of the essence, I feel. What are we waiting for? Nothing for it, suppose. This is an emergency. There's a strong possibility that beyond that door is the engineer you all seek. Be prepared for action, my dear fellow. Yes.
Whoa. Whoa. Is that a bomb?
What? What's happening here? Why is everything upside down? Rats! There ain't no one in here after all. But there must be. Maybe that was the sound of Drebber running away. But there's only one door to this room. There's a window. And no windows that can afford an escape route. Those skylights are too high. There's footprints up there. What's that up there? Are they footprints on the ceiling? Blow me! What have we got there then? Looks like someone trying to burn up something in a hurry. Oh, looks like a set of blueprints. To what? It's that Professor Urban's bombing machine, is it? Blimey! If we'd had these, there'd have been no need to muck about trying to investigate all that scrap metal. There is something of great interest here, too. This rope was lying on the floor at the foot of that pillar. A rope? What's significant about that? Never mind. You see, but you do not observe, Mr. Naruhodo. We must investigate the entire room thoroughly, and before the forensic investigation team arrive too. Mr. Sholmes, have you found something? Mr. Naruhodo. Yes, in point of fact, something rather fascinating. What do you make of this? A bomb? Let's see. Looks like a bundle of... Mr. Sato, what's the matter? That's a... Surely that's a time bomb, isn't it?
What?
Did you say... time bomb? Sorry, but... What is a time bomb exactly? You truly are one of a kind, Mr. Naruhodo. I won't take that as a compliment. Ha! You don't know nothing, do you, Otto? You haven't got a clue what it is either, have you, Gina? I invite you to consult a dictionary later, Mr. Naruhodo. But this particular specimen is no time bomb, though I confess it has a very similar appearance. Oh, thank goodness. But then what is it? I see. So that's it. Goodness, Mr. Sholmes, have you seen the hardest of the matter? There are times when I consider my lot most unfair, for I'm fated never to know how it feels to flounder as you do when a puzzle presents itself. But I have learned to accept the hardships that come with being a great detective, Mr. Sato. Here we go. I feel a great deduction coming. Once again, I can draw two conclusions from the scene we see before us. The first is that the inverted nature of the furniture in this room is the work of Drebber himself. Oh, but how could you... And the second conclusion is that the small device on the floor there is without question completely genuine. Please, Mr. Sholmes, you must explain everything. It would be a pleasure. After all, it is a great detective's civic duty to teach Scotland Yard the finer points of the trade. Well, Inspector Gregson seems delighted with the idea anyway. Oh, you deflected the inspector's glare with such fortitude there, Mr. Sholmes. Well done. Are we not mad at him? You're too kind, my dear madame. I hereby dedicate this great deduction to you. Kindly stand just there, Mr. Sato. Oh, yes. I'm be delighted. So, shall we begin? Once again, Herlock Sholmes is proud to present his logic and reasoning spectacular. clipped furniture. It's plain to see that this room is in complete disarray. The bed, the tables and chairs, the lamp, everything is upside down. Almost as if every item in this room had, until recently, been happily positioned on the ceiling, before falling straight down onto the floor. Every item in this room was on the ceiling? Are you suggesting that? Indeed, the key here is gravity. It would appear that technology has at last succeeded in freeing us from the great pull of the Earth. For the gravity of this room was reversed and then suddenly restored to normality. Goodness! The inverted furniture clearly reveals the truth about the part gravity played in this whole business. I quite understand your skepticism, Miss Susato. I too was incredulous at first. However, my conviction in my analysis was cemented when I observed this. An anti-gravity device, almost identical to the one that featured in a dream of mine only the other day, in fact. But then why does it have a clock on it? A most relevant question indeed. That is a timing device that controls when gravity direction will switch. There was clearly a requirement for the engineer to be able to restore noble gravity automatically. And the commotion we heard earlier from the other side of the door was the moment that restoration occurred. Yes, the reason why everything has been turned upside down is because of this anti-gravity device. So you see, we need look no further to explain the state to which now we find this room. The direction in which gravity acts in here was reversed by Mr. Drebber before being restored to normality in an automatic fashion sometime later by the timer's device. I have witnessed precisely this scene in a dream I once had when I fell out of bed. Now let us consider the next conundrum. What of our engineer friend? Indubitably, the greatest clue we have to explain this action is above our heads. Yes, how is it possible that there are footprints all the way up there on the ceiling? I think of the Tinkerbell movie. How did you get footprints on the ceiling? A question whose answer will lead us neatly to the truth, madame. The reason there are footprints on the ceiling is because of the nearby skylight. Of course, Drebber's aim was singular, to escape. However, there is but one way into this room, excepting the skylight, that is. By inverting the gravity in here, Drebber was able to fall conveniently to the ceiling and make his escape via the otherwise inaccessible skylight, leaving those footprints behind in the way. But the ceiling in here is very high, Mr. Sholmes. If the gravity reversal was sudden, would Mr. Drebber have fallen up the ceiling rather violently? Falling up is both scientifically and philosophically a rather interesting concept, I feel. But the man was cornered with nowhere to run, so escape through the skylight was his only option. You may recall that I found this in the room earlier, which I believe offers a solution. Oh, the rope! To reach the intended destination, what better tool than this rope? By anchoring one end of the wall, the man was able to lower himself safely to the ceiling. Which explains how Drebber was able to escape this room before our arrival. He reversed the pull of gravity and fled via the skylight. And personally, I should be very much like to reverse the pull of gravity again now, just for fun. Again, at least he didn't say he had a pet lion. Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this topsy-turvy puzzle. She's completely spellbound. This man lied to you about your dead best friend. Mr. Sholmes, there's just one thing that troubles me. I would expect nothing less. You're destined to be troubled by just one thing for the rest of your life. The thing is such a thing actually possible? An anti-gravity device? I would say that with man's current scientific knowledge at the turn of the 20th century, it's no more possible than instantaneous kinesis. But your whole deduction hinges on it. Ah, but my dear fellow, when you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. However improbable it may seem. Quote from my book. Huh. It's a marvelous line, wouldn't you agree? One of my more enduring pearls of wisdom. I and Iris come up with the exact phrasing. My original was clumsy. Yes, I have a feeling I've read it in something that Mrs. Sato lent me once. I also quoted it in my novel, not a bestseller. Highly recommend. Read it. Link in the description. Actually, there is one other thing, Mr. Sholmes. Ah, the spell's broken at last. The rope you found on the floor, wasn't it? Indeed it was, in lonely coils near the wall. But if Mr. Jarbright used it to escape in the way you described, wouldn't it still be tied to the wall? Mysteries inevitably unravel in the end, as I think you'll find, do ropes. As an evidence as such, you only need look at the mystery you faced in this room, now skillfully unraveled. That argument is as circular as the coils of rope. I think perhaps we might need to give Mr. Sholmes the usual little bit of helping hand. I'm sure with some minor corrections, the great detective's great deduction will lead us to the truth. Yes, you're right. And we must do it quickly before Enoch Drebber gets too far away. If you're ready, then let us resume. Herlock Sholmes, logic and reasoning spectacular. Course correction. Hold it, Mr. Sholmes. Alright, I'm just skipping ahead. Blah 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 blah. I love that he's walking around now. Alright. To think gravity could have been reversed in this very room. I find the whole idea utterly enthralling. Only Mr. Sholmes could conceive such an explanation. But the man himself admitted it was scientifically impossible, so... Yes, you're quite right. We must completely discount the idea at once. Oh, that's unusually merciless of you, Mr. Sato. When you have eliminated the impossible, whatever remains must be the truth. The great detective said so himself, didn't he? While refusing the part of his dreams of the anti-gravity devices. Yes, I suppose so. Well, let's see if examining this topsy-turvy scene a little more closely reveals some proof that shows exactly what the gravity in this room was or wasn't doing. Okay, it's not the balloon. Well, I wasn't expecting to find a pretty bunch of flowers in here, that's for sure. Ah, look at that! I know, that slender little vase looks like it's about to topple at any moment, but the flowers are thriving. Somehow it makes you think of the fragility of life, wouldn't you say? You shouldn't be a lawyer, you should have been a poet. To be honest, Mr. Naruto, something else about it made a rather deeper impression on me.
Take that!
The upright vase clearly reveals the truth about the part gravity played in this whole business. None at all. Upon my word, Mr. Naruto, you surpassed yourself by completely turning my argument on its head. Trying to impress your assistant here, perhaps? No one is trying to steal your spotlight here, Mr. Sholmes, trust me. As you rightly say, though, it appears at first glance that all the furniture in this room is upside down. This unassuming slender vase is standing keenly to my attention. And unlike the large safe, there is nothing affixing it to the floor. And it's the exception that breaks the rule. In short, much as it pains me, the gravity in this room was never inverted at all! My deepest sympathies for your loss. Oh, poor Mr. Sholmes. But the show must go on! So let us continue with our deductions. Now that we know this conscience is not in fact an anti-gravity device, there remains but one other possibility. You don't say. Someone deliberately turned over every piece of furniture in here. Which might sound obvious, but leaves one mystery very much unsolved. Namely, why would anyone choose to do that? Quite, and naturally there is an explanation. Yes, the reason why everything in here has been turned upside down is because of the anti-gravity device. He's absurdly determined that this device must have something to do with it, isn't he? I'm afraid the allure of an exciting scientific explanation is too strong. Well, there's no doubt that somebody did this. Somebody turned all this furniture over. So whoever it was must have had a reason. I'm afraid nothing comes to mind. Well, let's look around and see if any answer presents itself. Ah. Look, there's something written on the underside of this armchair. Oh yes, safe. Safe? As in safe and secure. As in secure, lockable box, I think. Admittedly, more likely. Well, there's a large safe bolted on the floor on the other side of the room, so yes. So you mean this number would let us open it? I wonder why it's written here, though.
Take that!
Yes, the reason why everything in here has been turned upside down is because of the safe combination. Precisely! I believe, Mr. Nanowrimo, that you had a very similar experience once, did you not? Yes, last year. When I bought a lottery ticket and noted the ticket number down on the inside cover of the book just in case. That's it! For people who are forgetful souls at heart should always make a written note of important information. Just keeping the ticket itself safe would be more sensible, I think. And what, pray, happened next, Mr. Naruto? When the day of the draw came round, I'd forgotten which book I'd written the number in and had to turn my room upside down to find it. That's it! For people who are forgetful souls at heart should always forget where they've noted things down. Not if you always note things in the same place. I actually won the second prize, you know. But I couldn't remember which magazine I'd slipped the ticket into, so I had to turn my room into... Thank you, Mr. Naruto, but I believe I'd proved my point now. How did this not get the anime adaptation? This is so much funnier. Which is that very similar scenario has clearly unfolded in this room. Finding himself requiring access to the safe, the occupant of this room needed the combination code. He remembered that he'd written it on the underside of a piece of furniture, but forgot which one. Leading to the state to which we now find the room. Yes, Mr. Drebber overturned all the furniture in here, in a desperate hurry to locate the combination code that would unlock the safe. An anti-gravity device, bro. Okay, sure. Okay. Sure, why not? Alright, we're gonna... Oh, wait. Under the greatest we have explained these actions are above our heads. Yes, how is it possible there are footprints on the ceiling? The question is going to lead us neatly to the truth, my dear madame. The reason is because of the nearby skylight. Well, if a change in the direction of gravity can't explain it, then how did those footprints get up there? Yes, I feel as though that particular mystery has just become even harder to solve. I can't think of any way to explain it at all. Oh, life was so much simpler in those halcyon days when gravity could be reversed. It was minutes ago, and those halcyon days never existed in the first place. Well, I suppose we must simply put our faith in Mr. Sholmes and observe the area in more detail. Putting our faith in Mr. Sholmes is what gets us into these situations in the first place. This is a gas balloon, isn't it? It's tiny, but it does seem to be a real balloon. Yes, I think you're right. I think it's the helium that's keeping it up. A green gas balloon. Why does it seem to ring a bell with me? As you can see, there's our footprints on this balloon too. Look. Ah, yeah, surely that's a clue, isn't it?
Take that!
The reason there are footprints is because of this nearby shoe. On closer inspection, there are clearly footprints then all over the balloon as well. In other words, the aim was never the skylight at all, but the balloon. But for what purpose? A green balloon. That seems somewhat familiar idea. Data. Ah! It was a piece of green balloon's envelope that Mr. Naruto and Iris found at the scene. And inside the green balloon was Master Got's claims he saw above the stage when the incident occurred. was the second birdcage, the crux of the whole instantaneous kinesis deception. You mean to say, if we assume the balloon in here is a model of the one used on that day, there's a strong possibility that something may have be concealed inside it. Wait. Something our absconder was desperate to retrieve before making a hasty getaway. But the balloon's out of reach. Hence why he resorted to a projectile, namely the shoe. Ah! Most probably, Drebber intended to tear a hole in the envelope by assailing it with the shoe. However, his efforts were thwarted when the shoe itself became a prisoner of these lofty heights. Oh dear, we desperately need to examine that balloon. If only there was some way we could get inside. You may recall that I found this in the room earlier, which I believe offers a solution. Oh, the rope. To reach the intended destination, what better tool than this rope? Mr. Sholmes has managed to bring the deduction back to the rope. Alright, I have to admit that was clever. So we just need to throw the rope up to the balloon and pull it down us to the ground? Which is much easier said than done, I feel. It could take us a very long time. True. Perhaps we need a more surefire method. In fact, we already have one, don't we?
Take that!
That was so funny. To reach the intended destination, what better tool than this crossbow? That was found at the scene, in fact. And in all likelihood belongs to Mr. Drebber. Is he inside the safe? If the man had only brought it with him just that day, he could have avoided losing a shoe at such a critical time like this. I think he's inside the safe. But maybe I'm wrong. So shall we? Your curiosity is deeply stirred, no doubt, my dear fellows. What is it that Enoch Drebber has hidden inside that balloon? He might be in there. He might be in there. Oh, the head! Ah! What the? It's the head! A waxwork. Indeed it is! A waxwork head inside a metal mask. A mask that is shut tight and fastened with a strong and quite impenetrable lock, of course. So we can't see the face inside, that means. Just a moment. This is the head of a waxwork model? Does that mean... Oh, goodness! I see you've drawn the dots, Mr. Sato. Excellent. Ah, of course, a headless waxwork model. The case of the abducted Madame Tuspel's model that you largely solved. It was only the head of the killer that was still missing. Indeed it was. But I believe Madame Tuspel's would not have to settle her sizable account with me. This, as you have now surmised, is the head of the infamous professor. Yes, but why is it here? This conclusively confirms my suspicions. The man responsible for stealing the professor from Madame Tuspel's and returning it, sans cité, earlier today, was none other than Enoch Drebber. This is incredible. Professor Harebrain's case and the waxwork abduction they're inextricably linked by Enoch Drebber's workshop. Well, it appears our logical pleasure cruise has come to an end, my dear fellows. All that remains is, yes, to speak with the architect of this adventure. The architect? You mean Mr. Drebber? As it seems quite impossible that he escaped via one of the skylights. Obviously, the man must still be here in this room. What? Yeah, he's in the safe. And his location should be abundantly clear. If you simply reflect on the journey we've made together during this deduction. Enoch Drebber's right here. So, Mr. Nanowrimo, will you do us the honors? Yes, of course. Mr. Drebber's hiding place must be the... La 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 la.
Take that!
La 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 la. Before we gained access to the back room, we heard noises from in here. Which tells us that the engineer was still in the building at that point in time. He was in fact searching for the combination to his safe. And pressed for time, made no attempt to right the furniture that he overturned in the process. From which we can deduce that his search for the combination happened very recently indeed.
In summary, Mr. Enoch Drubber is at this very moment inside the safe. Can I just say I'm still mad at you, Sholmes, for lying about my dead best friend and giving me all this trauma? Thus concludes Herlock Sholmes' great deduction of this topsy-turvy puzzle. I'm still mad at you. Don't talk to me. We're not on speaking terms at the moment. Until you tell me the truth. Let's get him out. So, Mr. Naruto, I think perhaps it's time we ended this game of hide and seek, don't you? By opening the safe, you mean? What else? Let's see. The combination was 1, 4, 3, 2, 5, 8, 2. I knew that. All right then. Here goes. You found me. What in the world? Do you happen to be related to the great detective, sir? Right then, sir. Mr. Enoch Drubber, I presume. Correct. You better start talking. You tricked Professor Hairbrain with that bogus machine you built.
And you shall have to explain the theft of the waxwork from Madame Tespels as well.
Whilst I would be delighted to answer your many questions. Personally, I would advise you to deactivate my little parcel first. Yeah, it's a bomb.
Your parcel.
I refer, of course, to the time bomb. I left it in the most prominent position. Ah! Ha ha ha, I see. Stunned silence. You're all giving up to die with me then?
No! Mr. Sholmes, with only 7 seconds to spare.
That was too close for comfort. I've got 1 foot in the grave already. Are you trying to help us get a killer or get us killed?
Mr. Sholmes' deductions can be completely life-altering, can't they?
Well, my dear fellows, that was a close shave. The resemblance to an anti-gravity device is really quite startling, I must say.
Anti-gravity devices don't exist.
Whew, I wouldn't push it, Mr. Sholmes. What on earth happened in here? You've found me, haven't you? No need to screw me down any further. Everything in here is precisely what it seems. Yeah, well, we'd be giving it a thorough going over, don't you worry, Trevor. What fails to click with me is how you were able to locate my workshop. That I was not expecting. When I heard whistling from the other room, I knew it was time to bolt. Whistling? Ah, that would have been me. Oh. For some reason, I woke in a fine fettle today. No words, just tightly squeezed chips. Clearly I must have a screw loose, though, as I couldn't remember the combination for the safe. And another one loose, as I couldn't remember on which piece of furniture I'd written it down. We also found a rope over by the wall. Yes, I'd hoped to exit through the skylight, but sadly the rope was too short. So I then set about searching for the combination code to open the safe. And burning in the incriminating blueprints, don't forget. Regrettably, though, you failed to retrieve the head from the balloon among the rafters. And after that, you hid yourself inside the safe. Having first set this parcel ticking, well, I had no intention of being nailed by the police. Got a death wish, have you? Hiding right beside a ticking time bomb.
Please, why do you suppose I chose to hide inside the safe? It's no ordinary safe, it's specially designed. A dynamite explosion wouldn't leave a scratch on it. So in fact, the safe was the only safe place? Precisely. But once you climbed inside, you wouldn't have been able to get out again. I invite you to look more closely. The safe is fitted with a handle on the inside to allow the door to be unlocked from within. Ah, so it is. I had always intended to blow this place to smithers in any case. I just wasn't expecting uninvited guests to come along and screw up my plans. Do you mean to say you were planning to... No, that was unforeseen. What do you mean? Most people run, you see, when they see a ticking time bomb at their feet. Ah, I calculated the time required to retreat to a safe distance and set the device accordingly. But your seemingly endless discourse in here threw a spanner in the works. Is something wrong, Gregson? Do I have something in my face besides the usual eyes, ears, nose, and mouth? I think we have a fairly good idea of what's been going on here now. What about the 2 incidents you've evidently been involved in recently? Professor Harebrain's instantaneous kinesis experiment at the Great Exhibition, and the waxwork model you stole, which this head belongs to. That's no ordinary head, you know. That's the head of the professor. Clad in a mask with a lock so strong, I'm unable to open it safely to reveal the killer's identity. I've been considering carrying it around as protection. That's enough! That's enough. What's going on here, Gregson? I'm sure you're aware that I have sole jurisdiction to investigate here. Yes, well... Dr. Scythe again. So the forensic investigation team are here. And you know full well this engineer is a key witness. Why are you allowing this lawyer to access to him? If Lord Strongheart knew of this, you'd be finished. You lot, leave at once. My dear madame, there's no need for such a threatening tone, I assure you. After all, there's no way to greet an old acquaintance, is it, Dr. Scythe? Hello, Sholmes. Mr. Sholmes knows Dr. Scythe. He knows everybody. If it's protecting the machine next door that's causing such a sour expression on your face, you are quite misguided. It's really nothing more than a shell. You get out. But of course, we'll show ourselves to the door. I see you haven't softened at all. Mr. Naruto, yes? It would appear that our delightfully entertaining investigations have run their course for today. But Mr. Sholmes, let us leave this place in the doctor's capable hands. I said get out now, all of you. Your presence here is not required either, Gregson. Understood? But I'll just say one thing before I head off. If it wasn't for this lawyer's and his companions, we'd never have found this place, and the whole workshop would have been blown to bits. There was a time bomb in here that this lot disarmed. Inspector. What? Something gave you a chuckle, has it? Drebber? Ah, so sorry. Didn't mean to offend. You're quite right, of course. You did disarm the time bomb, didn't you? Yes, you did disarm that one. Eh? What are you? That one? Yeah, you mean... Oh no! It was an hour later that we heard the news of the enormous explosion that ripped through the experimentation stage of the Great Exhibition. Professor Harebrain's invention and all its secrets were blown away forever. Not all of them, though.
Alright, well that one took a hot second. Thanks for bearing with me all. We'll see you at the trial.